What's up, YouTubers? Today, we're going to talk about the Talwar. This is a cold steel resurrection as promised by GSM Outdoors. They had requested from folks, once GSM bought them, what knife they would want resurrected, and the Talwar was, I think, the #1 requested one, and it has come back, so I followed through as they have followed through. This is obviously a Persian-inspired sword, if you will, and of course the Urdu word for sword is Talwar, though it's pronounced a little bit differently. This particular knife comes in a 5.5-inch blade made of S35 VN steel, and I weighed it in at 8.6 ounces. It prices at $246. A little bit hefty, I think, for what you're getting possibly, but not entirely unfair. In terms of some comparison knives, I think kind of on the lower budget end. I've got a couple of them, and again, it's really tough to compare a knife that has a 5.5-inch blade, but the Cold Steel Formax Scout, literally, if you take a look at that, it just literally fits inside it. So, and that is a big boy. And then, of course, there's also the large Luzon. These are the last two knives that I haven't reviewed from the 2019 Cold Steel Panic, the sale of that. So it's just a huge knife and not something that honestly is overly practical to carry every single day. I will not be flipping this knife as I do normally. One of the things I'll say right off the bat is, just as a matter of safety, don't be holding this knife perfectly upright like this and releasing it. Kind of put it down at an angle, and then what'll happen is you'll be left in a safer position. So yeah, you can deploy this thing one-handed, but this is not a fidger, nor is it designed to be. So we won't even talk in those contexts. On the pro side, this knife is a great slicer. This blade is very thin and definitely sliced very well. I will go ahead and intercut in now the slicing of an entire beef brisket. Okay. Also, this thing is actually a pretty good chopper. It's got a lot of great handholds, and this kind of ties into the comfort of it. But you can see from any of those positions, normally I don't like too much finger choils kind of ground into the handle, but this one, they kind of nailed it for a medium-large hand. It kind of fits great there. It fits one choil down and then kind of in the chopping position. They all fit my hand pretty well. You'll notice that they just have this one particular one right here that really accommodates two fingers, whether it's going to be those two. So yeah, honestly, great comfort. This is a hard use knife, so what do I got to do? Got to get out the glove. We'll go ahead and redeploy this thing back. As far as glove, this is great because you can really wing it out pretty nicely. Holds, again, grips really well. And then one of the good things with a glove is you can go ahead and be a little bit more footless and fancy free on that the hold of the knife. So that's a good thing. I'm comfortable in many hand positions with gloves. Most of all, really, for me, what I did want to say is about the chopping too. Kind of forgot about that. The pin back here that makes this different from a regular backlock. This is, of course, a backlock where you have a hunk of metal that drops right into there, but the triad lock adds a pin back here, and that pin really was useful when I was doing the chopping. In fact, let me go ahead and intercut in the chopping that I did. After that chopping, I wanted to check and see if it had any lock stick, and it did not have any lock stick. And again, what I wanted to talk about is that pin back there made for some great blockage, and it prevents that lock from getting stuck back there. So that was a really good thing in terms of definitely one of the pros of this knife as well. This thing is light at 8.6 ounces. I know it sounds a little bit crazy to say that an 8.6 ounce knife is light, but if you look at the size of it and everything, I'll give you an example of a knife that just absolutely is tiny compared to it. This was the full titaniumed out XM24 from Hinderer. And if you take a look at that knife, it does carry obviously much easier, but it literally just fits inside that thing. So that's 8.7 ounces, 8.6. So I think you understand what I'm saying now when I say it's light. It's just not really dense, I should say. Maybe that's probably a better way to put it. But last of all, on the pro side, I think what this does is it fulfills the promise of the new owner, GSM Outdoors, to not turn Cold Steel into a wimpy knife company. So I really appreciate that, and you know what? Here, that's a great thing. On the con side, this knife is big. This is just not going to carry very well with much of anything but chapstick. I tried to carry it in the pocket with a wallet. You can kind of muscle it in there and push it to the side, but it just doesn't sit comfortably. So, and not that I would expect to for such a monstrous knife. Again, it's going to be basically carried alone in a pocket. And I actually did find it actually works really well in a back pocket where you're not going to be carrying stuff. Of course, you got to take it out of your pocket before you sit down. The deployment resistance forces the deployment disc to kind of tear your jeans. I did test it out a couple times, the use of the Demco disc, and it has such great resistance, which is great because that's a great safety feature. This doesn't shake open easy. I can do it, but you have to take a full arm swing. But that resistance really makes the thumb disc here that's going to deploy it from your pocket, the hands-free, or basically just pulling it out of your pocket. It really does force the tear of your jeans. I did a couple times. I'm like, oh, that's enough tearing of those jeans. So, that, and then I guess also, you'd have to watch and just make sure you don't get your hands in there because that is such a resistance thing. So on the whole, is it a total con? Well, no, they're actually, I think, trading safety here for deployment. Deployment, I guess, ease. So in that sense, it might not necessarily be a con, but if you're looking at using that as your deployment method, definitely a drawback. The satin blade, actually, from cutting when I did cut the, it may not show up here, but it did patina a little bit. And actually, yeah, you can see just the slightest bit of that. So the satin blade versus like a stone washed did patina. There was a little bit of salt in the rub on that brisket that I cut there. And so, yeah, this one definitely patinas. It is a stainless, not stain-free. So I would know that. But, on the whole, not terrible, but just a little bit annoying. The pocket clip really punishes jeans. It's not as bad as some, this texture that you get on these FRN ones or GRN, whatever it's called, the Grivery. That stuff will literally tear apart your pockets really fast. This G10 is a little bit softer, but it's still, with the immense resistance that you have on those, it's still just kind of going to beat up your jeans. So, I find that it's a con. And then the last thing I'll say is, and this is probably my biggest rant of it, is, they had a chance to improve some things, and that wouldn't have necessarily required new milling, designs, and that sort of thing. Just replace the hardware here, the T6 with T8. Because, yeah, this is something I do see you getting dirty. It's got bronze. I see people getting really dirty with this. You could probably cut and skin a pig. You could do all sorts of things, probably chop it apart too. But to have T6 hardware for the maintenance of this thing is, I think it's kind of, I don't want to say shameful, lazy. I definitely find that it's fairly lazy, though. Overall, what I would say, this is Cold Steel at its finest. It's a pocket sword that is sturdy, impractical for everyday use and carry, but damn am I glad that they made it. And welcome back, Talwar. If you did find this useful, go ahead and like and subscribe, and have a great day for yourself. Take care now. What's up, YouTubers?